we're gonna then, yeah, we're doing it right now. Here you go.
Cool.
Everybody gets a song. So
Oh, nice. Oh.
here we go. Christie Nicholls is on the show.
Oh my God.
A quick song for probably one of my most anticipated guests. She's an author, an actor, a comedian, a snowbird, writer, and you know what? She's a tough ass woman. Christie Nicholls is on the program. Christie, how are you today?
Hi, I'm so good. I'm so happy to be here with my fully functioning buds. You knew the drama coming in.
Exactly.
I got these puppies and and you know, I love Florida. So I have a lot to say. I have so much to say.
I know. So Christie, so you and I met on the set of a commercial where I had the feeling that we were going to be like husband and wife.
Me too.
But
I asked for wedding. I had to ask them for wedding rings. Do you remember that?
Yeah, they asked us. Yeah.
Well, no. I asked them because
really?
I'm like, we're supposed to be a thing. Yeah. Why are we not wearing rings?
Well, you know what? We'll get into that in a second, but I'm so glad to have you on the program. And up top, we do plugs up top. So, you know, what can you draw listeners to check out of yours?
So I'm a writer, as you said. I wrote this book called Elephants in My Room. I have it here. Yeah. Because a lot of people are like, maybe in retrospect, it's stories from my childhood, mostly coming of age, funny stories. There's a chapter in Florida about my grandfather, paraplegic grandfather, very heartwarming. Most of it is humorous, but there is that section called Dearly Departed where it's like sad. It'll make you cry.
You can't get one without the other. I hear you.
That's it. The yin and yang of life, right? So and then I made my tea, and I also my nephew made me this cup. So this is a book, and isn't that nice? I'm not a total tool, but the cover, a lot of people are like, who is this? What is this? It's my mom made this as an elephant costume. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah,
and
I can see it. It's sweet.
People are listening. They're not looking. Damn it. Okay.
So the book is Elephants in the Room, and it's about just
my room. Elephants in my room.
In my room, sorry.
It's my room, Peter. Yes.
Exactly. And the elephants, and all elephants represent different stories from your childhood.
Right, like elephants being embarrassment, shame, humiliation, like all the sort of like silly things that have happened to us. I have a section about odd, shitty jobs I had, and about boys I dated, and embarrassing things. I farted for 30 seconds in front of a pretty attractive basketball player in grad school, and that was, you know, just like it's all like kind of spinning, funny stuff, embarrassing stuff, and it's a good time. It's a good romp. So I highly recommend.
Do you think because I think this is every comedian, whether they admit it or not, but do you think you're successful at transitioning those embarrassing moments into funny ones, or do you not feel like you're getting away with it? Because if I did something like that, like I farted on a first date, maybe not for 30 seconds, but you know, that just makes you the legend that you are. But if I farted on a date, I would try and make it funny.
It was,
you know?
Yeah. Well, no, it was a supernatural experience. I have no stranger to gas, but this was, this guy was training. So he had very specific regimen of food he could eat. And I was nervous, and I drank chai tea. We weren't drinking alcohol or anything. And I had buttery garlic chicken noodles. And then I had with that chai tea, and then I had Breyer's coffee ice cream. Oh, wow. And like that concoction just stewed up, and then I was holding it in, and I wasn't saying stuff, and I was holding it in, and if you know how it is, you have to it's like Vesuvius, you have to release, and I didn't release. And he was telling me about a friend of his who died of a drug overdose. Like, it was crazy, and that was the moment that my ass just went, and it was just the beginning of the end. And it was 30 seconds of uncontrollable, multisyllabic, multitonal fart.
Just letting the air out of a gassy balloon.
Oh my God, just so much pressure. And ironically, like, if it were any other guy, I would have delighted in that. And it kind of was a good test for me, because after that guy, I told that story. It was like a litmus test. And if the guys are like, oh gosh, no thanks, then it's like, all right, we're like, I want to be with someone that I can really explode around.
Just let loose.
I mean, I think that's a big thing. Now, I am married, and if my husband farted if it were that godly, if it was like that touched by an angel kind of fart, I would let it, I would be like, okay, this is okay. But there's something about when you get married and it's like, I don't want any of that gas. Like, and he knows, like any of my guy friends, my brother, my dad, like just fart all you want, but not the person I'm boning, for 15 years.
Exactly. We live in a house, lock yourself in a closet. All right.
Completely,
there are places to escape to.
Just, I don't even want to like tape it. Just get some duct tape. Like none of that. I refuse to be around a farty spouse. But yeah, for me, it's a difference. Is there a double standard? Absolutely. Now, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm sure there's plenty of guys that would be like, no, you cannot fart around me. And those are the people that just, it would never work out, for me.
Yeah. You know what? You don't have to worry about that. It's,
it's done. Listen, I will never, ever date again. Even if, God forbid, something happens with Andrew, I'm done. Because I'm not holding back anymore, and I'm not shaving when I don't want to. It's just, I don't know.
Go you, yeah. I mean, hey,
I know.
It's International Women's
tired.
Month. Like it's time. Burn the bras, get rid of the razors. Do what you want. It's 2021.
I'm for it.
I support it.
For it.
Speaking of spouses, yes, like we mentioned before, we were nearly on-screen husband and wife.
Yeah. Good couple too.
It would have been fun. Yeah. It was this commercial, and I assumed we were going to be a couple because we were in the same.
Because we were so in love. We had like on camera chemistry. I
sense it.
Yeah. I have no idea what happened there. My guess is it's a COVID thing that you have to, I haven't done a commercial that was not just me.
Oh.
You know what I mean? That's just solo shots. I've done short film, but I'm like no commercial in COVID times.
Oh,
have you worked with another actor on camera?
Yeah, 2 other instances where I was in a car with somebody, and another time where I was in like a living room setting with like Terry Bradshaw for this like nice. Fox thing, and then I felt like it was just fine.
Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah, I was like, Dad, is that you? And he get that all the time. But yeah, so the funny thing was, I thought we were going to be in the scene together, and then they were like, no, you're going to be in it separately. And then they gave us the same exact lines. And I was like, oh, what is going on here?
This is what Peter's talking about, our commercial, not you and Terry Bradshaw. I'm like, you and Terry Bradshaw didn't have the same lines. No.
Me and Terry, wouldn't that be amazing? I'm Terry.
That would be kind of fun.
I'm Terry Bradshaw. Welcome. I think they messed up the script. No, just read it. Hey, I'm Terry Bradshaw, Steelers legend, and come on down to the Taco Hut and get your free hot dogs and tacos. But
no, they totally.
Yeah.
That's my only theory is a COVID thing, and they didn't want to deal with us suing or something. Maybe if in case, even though we're all tested and it's all safe. I don't know, but it broke my goddamn heart. Is what it did.
I know, dang it. Any opportunity, people that know me know that I'm a lover. Any opportunity to either potentially get married or fake get married or appear married, I'm there. So it really broke my heart when they separated.
When they split us up. But they gave us a ring. They gave you a ring too.
I was still wearing a ring. Yeah. You were wearing a ring as well.
Yes.
So, Christie, you grew up in, say, where? Jersey and Seattle, right?
Well, okay. So I grew up on Long Island when I was 16. Okay. We moved to Seattle. So I just started watching Amy Poehler's movie Moxie last night. And she's like,
that's great.
It's fun. It's really fun. And the young girl in it, or she's young woman. What do I say? She's 16. She's a junior. And I started having all these weird flashbacks because that's when I moved. And that's like, that's the time. So I stayed in Seattle for college, but I get fiercely defensive about Long Island because like I wear a Mets hat when I run. I'm a Mets fan. I'm an Islanders fan. And like, I cannot, I say to people routinely, Long Island is the most beautiful place in the world. because I had to leave when I was 16, and I really loved Long Island. And so I say I grew up, on Long Island, but I've spent a lot of time in Seattle. My parents still live in Seattle. I love Seattle, but it's not my people. My people are on Long Island, always will be. That's my culture.
Yeah.
And I defend that to everything Long Island. I love it, love it, love it.
And as a part of that culture, you only naturally spend a significant amount of time in Florida. And I want to talk about your trips as a snowbird into Florida. Now, you have one particular story about going to Gainesville. Does this do any of these stories, other than your grandfather who you'd mentioned, do any of these stories you're about to share, do they find their way into your book or no?
Yes, that's the grandfather I was telling you about. So Gainesville will definitely be chapter for another book.
Okay, great.
But this current book, Elephants in My Room, is I think it's chapter 11 or something, and it sounds funny. It's called Head First, but it's about spending 8 days with my grandmother and grandfather, and I was never really a swimmer or a diver or anything. And I taught myself how to dive because there was really nothing else to do. My grandfather was paraplegic, and we were not really close. Once he became paralyzed, I was afraid of him, and then we reconnected through. He was just sedentary, he was just there, and so we really had this time to just get to know each other, and it was like a very pivotal time in my life. I was in 8th grade, and I didn't connect with anything. I didn't want to try. Yeah. I wouldn't, you know what I mean? When you're at that age and you're like, I was short, I was scrawny. I wasn't good in certain subjects at school. I didn't connect with the content. I didn't want to try really hard and then fail. And so my grandfather was there to completely, and everything was about guarded, that preteen, and I guess technically I was a teenager, but that sort of I'm not gonna it's not cool to try, it's not cool to care, and I kind of learned how to care in his care, with him. Oh, wow. And just spending time with seeing this person that all of a sudden woke up. He was quadriplegic, then was able to get regain use of his arms and legs, and they lived in Palm Coast, Florida, and they put in all these contraptions, like the pool lift for him, and he would have a standing box. And I basically watched this, he was in his mid-60s, this guy really try to regain just standing in his garage in a standing box. Yeah, that was trying. Yeah, because he just to feel upright, to have that just that freedom that he got completely taken from him. He had a catheter and all this stuff. So I think it really changed my life, because I saw this person who had a good life lose it, and then still recommit and become a different person. And then we became really close, and my trips to Florida were went from being a chore. Sorry, my grandmother passed away, but went from being kind of a chore and being this despondent, pissy little bitch. No, we don't say that. God damn it. See what I did there? But despondent kid. Right. And Brat, and kid, then
punk.
Yeah, punk. And then I led more with my heart, and and got to know him, and I taught myself how to dive. There was the point that all the kind of cool rich kids that had swim camps and stuff like that, I had never had anything like that. Didn't know how to dive, and I'm a good diver now, as it turns out from that. Yeah. So I just repeatedly threw myself in the water.
What's so interesting is, you talk about, being inspired, and then, learning how to swim, and developing just empathy, sure. Over time with these trips with your grandfather and, your grandparents. Now, there are textbooks that could tell you, history, and there are tons of lessons that our grandparents and our parents taught us or tried to teach us, but until you experience it, until you're the first person in it, it really doesn't. I mean, at least me growing up, you really don't have an appreciation. It doesn't affect you as much. So that sounds like a really big turning point. And going to Palm Coast, was Palm Coast is that a retirement community? Who'd you find?
It totally is. It's a retirement. It's about an hour and a half drive from Orlando. So we'd fly into Orlando, and it's the last thing I want to do is or actually we would also do Daytona at the time. We would fly Long Island, MacArthur Airport to Charlotte, and then Charlotte to Daytona, because it was like 45 minutes. And my dad's family's all from Philly, so they say like Daytona, which always just gives me the willies, the Philly accent. But so we would
Daytona when you were like of age. Like,
yes.
Have you got to party there? What was that like?
Oh yeah. Well, my cousin is 2.5 years older than me, and she had a real ID. You know, she was 21.
Nice.
And my aunt had just gotten through cancer treatments and recovered. And my other aunt drove, and it was like I was 20 at the time. No, I was only 19. I was 19, and we went down on the strip, you know, the Daytona strip.
Yeah.
And my cousin would just pass her ID back. And at the time,
similar.
Oh, well, yeah.
Or did you have to like wear a hat or like some type of like wig or like sunglasses or something to try and match it?
I wish we had, I remember being so nervous. She and I both had very blonde hair at the time. We were like similar body type, and she is gorgeous Sicilian, you know, her other side's Sicilian. And I got all the like German, Dutch, just pale ass, like I just turned, you know, bright red in the sun. So that was the only thing that, you know, she would, if they look closely, she has very dark brown eyes. And so like, no, we look nothing alike. I mean, I think you could tell we were like, our builds are similar and our, you know, personalities.
Yeah. How did you pass with your ID?
I had really big boobs at the time. I had like, I'm serious. When you're 19 and you're like, you know, no one gives a shit. They're like, just, yes, come in.
And I know honestly, exactly what you mean. Yeah. At 19, that's
like that.
My boobs were the biggest when I was 19.
They really were. Cause we were both on birth control then. Were you on birth control then?
Yeah, it was good for my skin and my nails. That's why I took it. But then I took the boobs, you know what I mean?
Oh, but I'm telling you, Peter, that the ways they used to make birth control, it was like, because I've been pregnant too, you know, and your body, you really do, like my boobs get huge when I'm pregnant. And then with birth control, it's just like telling your body, hey, you're pregnant. So when I was 19 and on birth control, it was just ridiculous. So yeah, it was not a problem. Blonde hair, large boobs, Daytona Beach. I could literally like go in, and I could have given them like Obama's ID, and they would have been like, just come in. Sure, Mr. President. Oh, I guess that would have been 2001.
I mean, honestly, if you would have given them Obama's ID, knowing the type of people that I know in Daytona, they would have been like, I don't know. So you're in Daytona. You know what's interesting? You're mentioning all these like funny Florida things. Like Daytona is a raucous party city, known for, at least I know, like the dives, the strip clubs, the bike weeks, and like at the same time, the Hog,
the Hog radio station.
Oh yeah.
No, there's a radio station called The Hog. It's like
The Hog.
95.7 The Hog. Yeah, you know this?
Yeah. And it's blasted everywhere. You're going down the strip like you're talking about. But at the same time, there is like in Daytona, there are people that have chosen to retire there. You know, so as much as it's like a place for like people in their 20s or 19, it's just as accommodating for people in their 60s. And oh man, I mean, what was your experience there? Yeah.
Just like watery beer, just like cups upon cups of like just fizzy. And then I think we did something like the equivalent of like a hurricane. Which the New Orleans, what's the like hand grenade, like just sugar and grain alcohol. And I think my aunt that drove was just like, what, because we were in my cousin's just hatchback car, and then my male cousin Todd was there. We all just sort of like exploded out of the car. At the time my grandmother was on her third, and I say this, my grandfather passed away, this in the chapter, and she married this guy, Mal. And I'll never speak ill of Mal, but he and I were not meant to be friends, in this life. And he only lived for a year, but she was able to get his military retirement too, which like really helped. So cool. Like, God bless him, but he died in the same hospital my grandfather. So my grandmother went through some stuff.
Yeah. Wow, man.
but he was up like, the straight and narrow. Yeah. So when we came home, we were all crashing at my grandmother's house. He wanted no part of it. Really? And then the next morning he just like the hangover after, 10 cups of the plastic cup, just, oh God.
He was
it
like
was rough.
Strict military, like what, like Army, Marines? What branch of the military?
What was he? I think he was Air Force. He was Air Force.
Air Force, yeah. So he was regimented. I bet being old and then also coming from a military background, he was probably up about 3 or 4 hours before you guys were stumbling in here with hangovers.
Oh, completely. And he was a career military, which is like a different level of sophistication. And no, he wanted none of that. And again, like I have utmost respect for him, but we didn't really hit it off. So, but we went to the Shark, this restaurant, the Shark, the next day. Actually, probably didn't make it any better. We sang karaoke in front of this giant, plaster shark. And, he just, again, more drinks. He was just like, we have this picture of him. He's smiling. So maybe, I never thought I'd talk about Mal on a podcast ever. This is such a funny thing.
Well, the funny thing is I had this similar experience, particularly after I left Florida and came back, because I was, I was staying with my grandma, and, I would have this type of, I would be like, oh, nice for grandma. Like, hey, like, what do you want to do? Like, let's watch this TV or let's like eat dinner or whatever. And just very polite, very calm. Like, let's worry about the front yard. Let's garden. And then as soon as she went to sleep at like 7, 8 o'clock, I would go out and it would be a race to get just annihilated drunk, just because that's what was
Florida way.
Those were those were the two things that were in the air in Florida. It's like, oh, okay, be respectful to your grandparents and your mom, whoever. And then, when they're out of sight, forget it. Just all the sugary drinks and whatever you could handle. You have a story about Gainesville that I want to get to.
That's another. All these are boozy stories. Maybe that's what it is about Florida. But so my grandmother, that was Sonia, who Sunny is. I had a baby. When would I have her? May of last year. And so I named her after this grandmother. Thank you.
Right in the middle of COVID,
Sunny.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I have anxiety, so it's just like extra stressful. And then I think I told you I got COVID when she was 2.5 months old from a motel. I was driving back. So yeah, it's been like the triathlon of anxiety, like testing the how far I can go in terms of like.
But you named that child after
Mom. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
After Sunny. So Sunny's named after Sunny, which was a nickname for Sonia, my grandmother. So she got moved to Gainesville in like 2017. Okay. And so we would do the same thing, fly to Orlando airport, rent a car, drive an hour and a half or so to Gainesville. And now my brother was terrible about seeing her. And I knew she was on her way out. And I just had this feeling, and she and I have always been really connected. I don't know why. Okay. Again, I keep doing these things. I'm like, no one's can see you.
You just threw up a deuce. We were connected. There's the two of you.
I did.
Two people, like two fingers on the same hand. Yeah, exactly.
So my brother, who I call Beluga, he's in the first book. He and I had this deal worked out where we were gonna go. I go, look, we've got to go see Mom. You haven't seen her in 3 years. She's on her way out. You piece of shit. Let's go. And so he goes, I will go, but you're flying to Houston.
Whoa.
And we're going to party that night, and then we're going to fly out. This is my brother. Yeah. And I'm just
it's not just your brother. I mean, anytime I plan on going to Florida, I plan it around a party. Like, hey, I'm going to visit my grandma, but I'm going to spend a couple nights in Tampa, a few nights in Orlando, then, maybe 3 or 4 days in Southwest Florida. I had a friend who had a wedding last year, and I planned it around. I was the best man, and he had his wedding, and I was like, oh well, I'm gonna be there for the wedding, but the 3 days before and the 3 days after, I'm gonna spend either in Tampa or Southwest Florida. Yeah, exactly. So like adult planning in Florida, obviously, if you're not going to like Disney with kids or a theme park,
which I'm doing in 2 months, by the way.
I know. I can't wait to hear about that. So, okay. So so you're planning this trip and it's got to go through Houston, right? To party there. And then
major party destination. No, my brother lives in Houston, but he's like, you come in, go to there's a bar in Houston called Ginger Man. There's a chain. They have one in New York. They have one in Dallas. When I was in Dallas, I had to go. I just love the Ginger Man. I like really good beer.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know, 70 beers on draft or something.
Wow.
So he's like, we'll go look. And then he has his brewery. Anyways, he's like, and then I'm booking us first class because he's got United points from Houston to Orlando. And I hadn't flown first class in a long time. So I was like, okay. I can do this. So we drank on the flight, which was like 6 a.m. And then which like, or 7. It was our flight was at like 7:30 because I remember we were at the United Lounge and they're like, oh, it was like 6:55. My brother's like 2 mimosas or 2 champagnes, which was like, I thought very civilized. Then we had this flight. And then, he drove, I guess he was okay to drive. I'm pretty anal about that, but yeah. So we drive, and we stop at this little place that has sold, the Cuban, what's a Cuban like pulled pork sandwich?
A Cuban sandwich. Yeah. It's got ham, pulled pork.
It's got a name, right?
Is there a name? Cuban, Cubano, maybe.
Oh, Cubano.
Pickles, that's it. Mayonnaise, mustard, pulled pork, ham. Yeah, panini style. Yeah.
You know how like when you're really hungry and you haven't slept, anything warm, meaty, cheesy. It doesn't matter that it's at a truck stop. Like you're gonna eat that.
Ooh, yeah.
So Beluga and I got 2 of those, and then we got.
And his name's espresso. Beluga, like the whale.
Yeah, like the whale. That's not his given name. His real name is a different name than that. My parents didn't name him Beluga, but in my life and in the book and everything, he is Beluga.
I love that. That's a beautiful name. That could be Beluga. Yeah, I mean,
could be a vodka brand, I think.
A vodka brand, or 80s or 70s, 80s era character in a movie.
Oh yeah, like the ones with Bruce Willis kind of thing. Like a villain, Beluga,
Beluga, yeah, or just like a the type of guy you want to hang out with. You want to Gator.
Oh, you think Gator.
There's a guy named Gator that I grew up with, and he was a little edgy, but it sounds like Beluga is like, this is a nice Falstaffian man, just that type.
Yeah.
Gonna go up to him, give him a big hug, buy him a drink.
The irony is my brother is a spicy meatball. I don't think I'd ever call him warm and lovable. It doesn't like my husband calls him Beluga. I don't let my daughter call him Beluga because I don't think she's earned it. Uncle Jeff. Yeah.
As much as you need to earn a nickname, you also have to have other people earn the comfort level to
right to use nickname. It. Yeah, and I have not anointed her yet in that regard. But we were 18 months apart. He's a year, 18 and a year and a half older. And so he's just always busting my chops, just a jackass. So great. Baby Beluga, that song was, and then it just kind of stuck, it's just Beluga. When he got older, that was probably the hardest part is he was Baby Beluga for a long time. Yeah. And it was in my phone as Baby Beluga. And I just thought, this is weird, like calling your brother baby, but like the baby. So we struck that as just Beluga now.
But nonetheless, a great road trip,
my brother is a very difficult person, but he has definitely saved my life. I went to Siberia, Russia with him, and I went to Ireland with him, and they're very transformative trips. And this was basically, we knew what it was. It was to say goodbye to my grandmother in Gainesville. Yeah. We both were. It was the elephant in the room, in that we knew she was going. We knew we had to do this. We had to stop for Cubanos.
Of course.
And we got the espresso, and we nearly shit our pants getting to Gainesville. And we were like,
you had the Cuban coffee as well with
Yes, and it hit. And we were telling each other stories of nearly shitting our pants. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my, that moment where you're like, it's not funny.
Yeah.
This is happening. and like, where's like, you start just MacGyvering, brainstorming. And we luckily found a rest stop, made it
before
in.
you got there?
Yeah, I left. Before we got to my grandmother's, I left half of my soul in that toilet bowl. But it was like, I think it was stress, nerves, all this stuff. And it was like, it was one of those moments where, when you're with your grandmother or your grandfather and like, you're like, I have not grown up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm 36, I think it was 30, 36. And I'm on the side of the road. Like, you don't eat and my grandma's like, where are you? What's happening? Mama, I died at a rest stop just like 20 miles outside of Gainesville.
I think that's part of the Florida experience. Like, anytime you're planning a trip to Florida, dying on a toilet.
Where are the toilets?
But anytime you're planning a trip to Florida, you got to make sure you have a good time. So, you're not, I feel like anywhere else that you visit, it's much more adjusted and much more direct. Whereas Florida, it's like, listen, I got to go there. I have this, this terrible feeling about, my family, or, I've just got to go there for, tax purposes or whatever reason brings you there. And you got to think, you know what? I just better make the most of it. And then that's where you get into the most trouble, or, find yourself at the most rest stops, doing God knows what.
And it was weird because I was in there so long, there was no cell service. So like, my brother was definitely like, oh, my sister's, she's gone, she's dead.
That's it, it's over.
So that's it. Yeah, it was a good run. So when we get to Gainesville, we went straight to her place, and my brother, like, it just became this, like, let's not talk about the elephant in the room. So he started drinking again. And then I was cleaning up, and I broke, he was drinking Corona. I broke a beer bottle, and I had to clean it up. And she's in this like assisted living facility.
Oh, wow.
And fast forward to like hanging out. It was wonderful. They connected. I wanted to just bring them together. They did. She was telling old stories. She wanted that goodbye, And we went to my aunt. My aunt lives in Gainesville. She's a professor at the University of Florida, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went to her house, but before, we had to sign her out, do all this stuff. And we had a wonderful time with my aunt. And it was like, sitting outside on the lanai. That's what we call it. I don't know if you call it lanai.
I call it a lanai. Yeah, people look at me sideways when you say lanai. It's a
Floridian thing.
Yeah.
It's like the screened in thing.
Yeah, screened in patio. But I think what makes it a lanai is the screen, because you don't want to get the mosquitoes in
the nasty, like, and all the lizards and things. But still get in. I've definitely seen a lot of lizards crawl. They find a way.
I think that defines it for me. Yeah, because I have a patio here in LA, but it doesn't have a screen.
No,
lanai
you gotta have that
screen.
Floridian,
which is it's have a screen. You're bit up. You're forget.
Oh, completely.
You're gonna have
and then like alligator, like there's all sorts of things that just come in. So my aunt had
that thin screen is gonna hold back an alligator, or at least confuse enough to say, nah, forget it. So you're out there with her on the lanai.
Yeah, and my cousin and I, my cousin's 22, and like she and I and my mom were like, and my grandmother had a lot of like heartbreak in her life. Her first husband left her in kind of a gross way, and like she found out she was cheating on her, and this is in a time when like women aren't supposed to talk about this stuff, and so she was left. She got married when she was 18, had a baby when she was 19. So she got a job at Sears. Like she had to pull herself back up. And we were talking about my cousin had just gotten dumped by some dipshit. And I never liked this guy. And so we just were like talking about heartbreak and all this stuff. And in a way that was like, oh my God, this is like the last moment I'm going to have. And that at the time, like, my cousin and I grew up in different areas, or, there's an age gap there, but like we really connected in this way. And my cousin's adopted. And I think that was hard for her also, not feeling like, like being adopted and that, sense of identity. So like we really felt like this connected family, and it was this beautiful moment. And my grandmother got up and walked away from the pool, and she said, I wish that doctor, she had a stroke a couple months earlier, and she said, I wish that doctor could see me now. He said I'd never walk again, and look at me. And it was like this full circle, like, and I was, holding her hand, and just, it was just like this magical thing. And my brother connected, you know, everybody just connected. We were this wonderful, loving family. All the sad stuff from my grandfather leaving them and abandoning his family. And like, we honored him in a way and like forgave. And so my brother goes, this is part of the condition, part of the clause. He goes, I'm only staying at a hotel where there's a bar. And I go, look, there's a Best Western Galaxy's Edge or something. I know it's not called that.
Galaxy's
It's
Edge.
like, there's
more like
bar.
Swamp's Edge.
Swamp's
like
Edge.
Pool's
Completely.
Edge. Yeah.
Completely.
Resorts Edge.
Completely. It was right off the freeway. There's a Harley Davidson across the street. And we'd stayed there every time I've gone to Gainesville to see my grandmother. I'd stay there. So I go, there's this bar called Gators, you know, G-A-T. You know, I don't need to spell Gators to you.
Right.
And I'm like, it's fantastically Floridian. There's a fucking alligator above the bar. Forget it. Like cheap drinks. It's everything. And so we leave my aunts that drop my grandmother back, and they go, or they called. That's right. They called and were like, your grandmother's not here. What's happening? There's a curfew. And we're like, oh, and like we went to her room.
These are like the nurses and the assistants that are
exactly because they give her meds.
Yeah. Exactly. Give her medication and then tend to her and
make sure she's alive.
Great. And so she's gone missing.
She's gone missing, and they go in her room, and I had broken that beer, so her whole place there's just lined up Corona bottles, and she's the most meticulous anal person in the world, and they go in. There's like Miss King, where are you? And it just reeks of beer. She's gone. We're still, you know. So I race her home. We get home, and then I'm like, it's.
Wait, you guys all went to the bar? Like Grandma went to the bar with you?
No. We didn't take her to the bar yet. So we came from my aunt's.
Right.
And
I see. Right.
So I say to Beluga, I'm like, look, let's go hang out in the room. Let's talk. Usually our spouses are around, like, let's just hang out, you and I, like, we don't need to do anything else. And my brother's like, bullshit. You said we were going to Gators. We're going to Gators. And so I'm like, Jeff, let's cash in our chips. I hadn't slept the night before from Houston. Let's just quit while we're ahead. Nope, a deal's a deal. We're going to Gators. So fuck, we go to Gators. And we're sitting there and we were having a wonderful conversation. Yeah. And I guess two people came up on our right side. And they sat down at the bar, and they're about our age, maybe the guy was a little bit older. Mm-hmm. And we just start shooting the shit, start talking, and it turns out they're in town for a vaginal rejuvenation seminar or like symposium.
What?
I am not kidding you. This is. Oh
no.
And so we start talking, and I can tell that they're on their asses drunk, on their asses. And so they start, probably because they started buying us martinis, tequila shots.
Wow.
And I was not taking them because I was just like, something just didn't feel right. And they were just kind of weird. So they started getting surlier and surlier. And, effectively the guy was telling us like how women should never have vaginal delivery. I had C-sections because the cord was wrapped around my daughter's, neck.
Yeah.
So he's like saying and he's like, it's not, he was effectively saying like, it's not right to have a vaginal birth. And he started picking a fight with my brother. And so I started getting protective because first off, I'd be like, hey, how about two guys not talk about this? Like, no need. No need. Let's not have two men talk about this. That's fine. And the woman that he was with was definitely like, they work together. They're definitely having an affair. And my brother and I have had this happen to us before, where we go out and hang out at a bar together, and people find out we're brother and sister, and they're suddenly like, let's swing. I swear to God, it's the weirdest thing. I have no idea. And like, we're both, my brother and I are both happily married. Yeah. Like, and we're just like, we just want to have a conversation. But Beluga is way more amenable to like, hey, strangers, let's shoot this shit. Cause he's drunker than I am, basically.
Right.
So things are getting weirder and weirder. And I finally looked at this guy in the face, cause he was talking shit to Jeff Beluga. And he was saying things like pretty like you never got your ass kicked and like all this stuff. And I look at him and I go, yeah, it keeps getting weirder and weirder. And I look at the guy and I go, if you say one more thing to my brother, I'm going to beat the living shit out of you. And I box, and I'm like, I have a temper.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
You're a tough cookie. Yeah, I wouldn't mess with you.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Right. I snap. And so I bite. I just watched what's that? Oh, Wes Anderson movie, The Isle of Dogs. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yes. Isle of Dogs.
Bryan Cranston's character, what's his captain or something? I'm definitely messing this up, but he has this line. He's like, I bite. I don't know why, but I bite.
And so anyway, you're like, hey, you better. I mean, that's your last warning.
Completely. And so it just kept getting weirder and weirder and weirder. And then all of a sudden this was at the time, maybe it was like iPhone 10 was the highest. I don't know. What is there, an iPhone 14? Like, what is it now? What's the highest iPhone?
I think it's 13 at the moment. Yeah.
13. Okay.
13, but hang out next week and 14, 15 might be coming out simultaneously. So you never,
I can't keep up. They just need to do something different with that. But she had probably like an iPhone 5. Like, I mean, it was so old. It was one where you touch the button, like the home screen. And so she snaps and is like, I forgot the best part. It's like, Jeff and I didn't tell her who we were or what we did. He's a professor and I'm an actor and a writer. And like, I just didn't want to have that conversation about, how it is. It's like, what have you been in? What have you done? Like, who do you know? Oh, I was going to say something about The Rock there. I don't know why.
That line of question, exactly. The line of questioning that follows that is just so predictable. And it's like, man, you're not going to get to know me anymore, by asking these questions.
I could literally be like, I was in the Pelican Brief. And you'd be like, I was the star. I was Julia Roberts. I'm Julia Roberts. Like, get the hell out of here. Like,
I'm
I can't
the pretty
stand
woman.
Yeah.
Oh, you're Julia Roberts. Yeah. Do the laugh. Do the laugh for us.
No, I can't. I don't. Oh, Julia.
So this guy's pushing. This couple is pushing all your buttons.
So they're like, "Who are you? Who are you?" And like, for some reason, Jeff did. He's like tried to show them his website, and it didn't work. It was down, and they're like, they think we're like con artists. Right. And I'm like, I'm not saying who I am. You're never gonna find out who I am.
No.
I don't want to talk to you. Go away. I mean, it was just like you're fighting with my brother. It just kept getting weirder and weirder and weirder. And then I went to the bathroom and came back, and she was in my brother's face and was like, "You stole my iPhone 5."
What?
And so we're standing there at Gators. It was crazy, and there was like some like good old boys had our back. It was great. They were just like she gone crazy. Like it was just like
they could see it in your eyes. Like, she's capable of some type of destruction.
Oh no, not me.
I don't want to see.
The other woman that was accusing me and my brother of stealing an iPhone 5, and they're like, what are you? They're like, what are you doing? What are you actually doing here? We're like, are you spies? We're not spies. Like, what's the
spies?
Spies be doing right?
It's always a conspiracy theory in Florida. It's always like, oh, they're spies. If it existed at the time, they would have been like, they smell like Antifa. Get out of my damn bar. Bar.
So they think they're saying we're full of shit. I'm like, you're here for a vaginal rejuvenation symposium, and you think we're coming to see our dying grandmother. Like, we're the spies. So one thing led to another, and she frisked my brother. It was just like, and when she's like, show me your pants, and it was like this awful moment of like, oh my God, Peter, like we came from this beautiful family, like connection and sharing stories of my grandfather in a positive way. And my grandmother saying like these last moments we'd ever have together. And my brother, it ended with Jeff at Yater's, like hands like this. And this psychopath frisking him, pulling out his pockets, checking his hair for an iPhone 5. Like it was nuts. Wow. And the guy just kept getting weirder to the point that we were like, going back to our room. I didn't sleep, like checking behind us because they were getting like, it was the threats. It was really, really weird.
I think,
and they thought we were spies.
That's ridiculous. I think the moral of this story might be, when you go to Florida, you're gonna have the opportunity to connect with somebody, a family member, a stranger, unexpectedly, unwantedly. The opportunities are endless. You know, for some reason, these people walked out to the bar and they clocked the two of you, and they were like, spies notoriously hang out at Gators. You know, there's
brother and sister spy. Like, we come up with a better story than hanging out at the Best Western fucking Gators.
You go to Florida. Oh, exactly. You go to Florida, you're gonna get connected. You're gonna connect with somebody whether you want to or not, and you just gotta hope that it's on your own terms, pretty much.
When they show up, and the guy looked like he looked like a just a mean, you know, Finding Nemo animation, like just like a puffer fish, like it's just like he wanted to fight with someone, and something was not going right. Like, and my thing is, like, when you're talking about fighting with strangers, I'm not as much of a lover as you are. Well, but I do want the best for people. Like, I really, like, I'm a sensitive, caring person. But, like, if you, like, hit my hackle, you know, is that a thing? Yeah. And like this, like, I should have known better that this guy was, like, they were not well, aside from having a really bad phone.
I think drunk guys in Florida, you've heard of, like, the idea of, like, fight or flight when you're in danger. I think drunk guys in Florida are they're thinking, like, flight or fuck, pretty much. It's like, and they're frustrated if one of the two doesn't happen for them, and it's easier to start an unintelligent, just like scuffle than, you know, just have a regular night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's gotta be like, they're telling that story on their podcast, and it's like, we met these spies, we sniffed them out, and they tried to steal our phone because, you know, they're probably Antifa. So thank God we took care of them. That's an incredible story.
Yeah, it was the next morning, though. It was another thing, though. We had breakfast at 8 with my grandmother, and you know how, like, it's like we looked like hell. We were like, I barely slept, because then we went back to our room, and we're talking the whole night about, like, what the fuck was that? Like, we thought we were spies. You got frisked. I almost got in a fight. Like, they tried to kill us. Like, it was so crazy. And then we had to see got to. And this was our last moment with my grandmother.
But when she was missing, where was she? When they were like, she's missing, where did she go?
Oh, she was with us. They called us to say, like, you have to return your grandmother or she's gone. And so, because we were supposed to check her back in. So then the next morning, her place still reeked of booze.
Beer,
These are our last moments with our grandmother.
Jesus.
We're like, again, like, she said some really positive things about my grandfather. I asked her if she could forgive him. She said, I don't know. But she said it in this way that was like, holy shit, there's a possibility there. And, like, we just connected again. But it was on the heels of, like, oh my God, my head. Because we were drinking these martinis and the tequila with the vaginal rejuvenation symposium weirdos. So it was like, these were the last moments of having horrible breakfast. Just the bacon was like, just it was may as well have been bark mulch. I mean, it was just.
You don't go to Florida for all the food. Some of the food, not all the food.
No, definitely not in this case, the nursing home breakfast, which I should have, kind of known better.
But also,
that was it. And it was, we drove to the airport talking about it. And that was like those last final moments with this instrumentally, just huge person in my life, who my daughter is now named after, where, had some gators in there. So
another lesson is, you go to Florida expecting to have one experience, and you can't help but have 2 or 3 different experiences. That's part of. That's what you should plan when you're heading to Florida. Really quick before we get out of here.
I'm going to Florida. I hope we get to talk about that.
Yeah, well, you're going to Florida in May. Where are you going to visit?
So we're Disneyland season pass holders. Haven't been able to go for a year. I'm huge into Disney. And my 3.5-year-old is mad about all things Disney. So we've been saying, when it opens. And then so my other daughter's turning a year May 7th. So we're like, you'll love this. You'll love this, Peter. So we're like, fuck it. We're going this place, some exorbitant amount of money to go stay at Disney World, do all this. and we
stay at
booked
the
everything.
Disney Resort.
We're staying at the not California. It's like Grand Adventure or some shit. Like it's like a hut. You know, like it's like it's a cabin. Listen, it's not a hut because it's very expensive.
Right.
It's some kind of like the Grand Adventure. I always screw it up because in Disneyland it's called California Adventure. No, it's called like
that's
Great
their like
Lodge
secondary
or some
park.
shit. Do you know this? Great
Lodge?
I
think I know what you're talking about, but you're talking about flying to Florida and being at Disney World, right?
Right. But actually we're going to do my dad we postponed his 70th so many times. So we're doing the Keys and we're staying there for 4 days, and then we're going to go up because it's like flying with that many people. And I love Florida. Like I really, everybody's really friendly. Yeah. It's a beautiful place. So we're going to drive, fly to Miami, drive down. And I am stoked about driving on that bridge down to the Keys. I am a big driver.
The water's so beautiful there.
Giant, that turquoise color just gets me every time. Because on Long Island, it's just the color of like a cup of tea. It's just this like dark black water that is crabs and horseshoe. Yeah, it's just nasty. So this is just a delight. And then we're going to drive back up all the way up to Orlando from the Keys and stay there. And I can't even tell you, the irony is that we finalized everything this weekend and fucking Disneyland opened up in early April. We just found out they're opening in early April. So we planned this whole thing just for Florida, and now they're opening up, but I am not canceling.
Good.
But of course I can't get into the be our guest. I get why those moms like go crazy about shit. Like I want to get Vicky loves Beauty and the Beast and they have to be our guest thing, and I can't get a reservation because you it's like I'm gonna be on every day for the next 2 months trying to get a reservation because I told her about it. And all COVID is telling your kid something and being like, I don't know. So I feel like I'm gonna get her somewhere to eat. That's nice.
Get those Mickey waffles.
The Mickey waffles.
Gotta get the Mickey waffles. Oh, and there you are again. You're planning a trip to Florida, and that's really 3 experiences: the Keys, 70th birthday, and then Orlando, the theme parks. And that's what I think it's gonna be.
And then driving.
And then driving's the real experience.
It's a very loaded place for me because I had all these formative experiences in Florida. Being on those highways that just never have traffic, which is crazy. I don't know about Miami. I don't really know Miami that well, but maybe there'll be some traffic going on. Okay, but
for sure.
But it's a loaded place. I miss my grandmother so goddamn much. Your grandmother's still on this earth, right?
Yeah, she's in Fort Myers, Cape Coral, Florida, Fort Myers, and she actually just got her second vaccine, second dose.
Yes. Good. Oh, good. So you could probably, you try to get out to see her, or have you seen her? I can't remember.
We're planning for her to visit me here in October.
Wow.
Just because she appreciates a change of scenery. As much as I love Florida, right now, I'm gonna give it a minute. Let COVID breathe for a second, and then then once everybody in Florida has the antibodies, maybe I'll come in.
They're getting there. I mean, my husband's vaccinated. I had the virus in August, and I feel safe about I gave it. I mean, my children, everyone was exposed to me, so I feel okay about it. I told you I'm always like a little scared saying this because I know how serious this is, and I don't want to disrespect anyone that can't, so I feel like we cannot spread it. So I feel comfortable going. And it's also like, I got to tell you, like my daughter and I are planning out each, where we're going in Disney World. And it's very exciting.
That's so wonderful.
The magic of it. And you've been there, haven't you, Disney World?
100%. Oh yeah, absolutely. I've been there at least a dozen times. Yeah. And there's plenty to do, and it's a good family thing. My cousins would fly in from Colorado, and we would all drive up, big family, and that was lovely. Yeah, and you're gonna have a great time, and I'm so excited for you for May. So I hope you get those reservations. That'll be exciting. Before we leave,
I'll work on
you to. I just became aware that you are a Parrot Head Jimmy Buffett fan. Give me the
my favorite
60-second pitch on why people should come around on Jimmy Buffett and why you're a Jimmy Buffett parrot head.
Explore more songs in his catalog. Don't just do the frickin' Margaritaville and Cheeseburger in Paradise. There's so much more. And One Particular Harbor is one of my favorite songs. It got me through anxiety, having to do a C-section in a COVID pandemic. That song, I played it over and over and over again and just get into that Buffett state of mind. One Particular Harbor. It is a beautiful song. It's like, it's flowing and lyrical and fun and jazzy. And it's like, it's all things Florida to me. And I think of, when I hear Jimmy Buffett, I think of my grandparents' lanai. I think of floating in that pool. I think of, oh my God, I'm gonna cry. I think of my grandfather alive and well and my grandmother alive and well. And I think of just relaxing and not thinking about, oh shit, I've got to send this email. I've got to respond to that person. I'm not this enough. I'm not that enough. Oh God, like that I'm not, like there's no sense of doing with Jimmy Buffett. It's just being. And that sounds so corny, but it's just this inhabiting this space of pure like relaxation. And so I was planning on going to see him in the Woodlands, Texas. My in-laws live there. But then he pushed his dates, changed everything. So I have not seen him live, but I have listened to his music. I love Jimmy Buffett. It just transports me to a really, I think of wind chimes and tropical breezes and lanais and just being okay. Just there's something about Jimmy Buffett that it's like, it's going to be okay. And during this pandemic, I played him like nobody's business. When I was pregnant and thought I was going to like, I thought everything was going to end. And Jimmy Buffett is just like, it's okay. It's okay.
It's that comfort food. It's so Florida. It's a calming, relaxed state. And, you know, I could think of nothing better. So I can't wait to listen.
Please listen. Listen, if anyone's on the fence about Jimmy Buffett, and I sense some hostility from you, Peter, about Jimmy.
I have no hostility towards him. I just haven't been introduced to him properly. I know that I've drank at his bars. I've been at, I've had the cheeseburgers in Paradise. I've heard those songs, those typical songs. I've just never been properly introduced to him. Kind of like, you know, I feel like his catalog is kind of like Billy Joel. There's like, you know, flashy, like, all right, commercial.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that connection. That's fair.
Okay.
There are the deep cuts, and then he did a cover of a Crosby, Stills and Nash song, Southern Cross, which I love that song. Okay. That's an amazing one. And I mean it. I have a hot tub area in the back that I made. It's like an ode to Florida. I probably should have opened with that. Yeah, parrots, you know, like it's tiki bar, like it's 5 o'clock somewhere kind of shit. Parrots and tiki. Yeah, so like, and that's why I was telling you, like the Hawaiian, well, I guess this is Hawaiian. I can't say that. It's not Floridian, but this is Floridian. Yeah. But yeah, so that sort of like, that mode for me is really effective and just being okay. So the hot tub area, very, very, it is basically a shrine to all things that I grew up with in Palm Coast, that whole Floridian way of just be okay, be okay. And you don't have to wait till you're in retirement to do that. Be okay now. Just be okay.
There you go. Well, let's be okay. Yeah. Christie, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your snowbird stories.
I love being on here. Yeah,
I had a blast.
Anytime.
This was great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're the best, Peter. Great seeing you. My on-screen husband.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of, yeah.
You know, it's your silent husband. Yeah, we'll figure out what happened. But Christie, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Peter.
And Floridians, thanks for listening. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.